Welcome, welcome, Lizwe Nation. Thank you very much for attending our Tea with Lizwe today, and we really appreciate it from your side. As you can see, we are portraying there our deepest condolences to the Floyd family, George Floyd's family, as we come from the memorial service where a eulogy was read, which I'm going to just quote a few statements from it, and then we align ourselves with that. I'm Lizom Knebe, and I help engineering executives. I help your small, micro, medium enterprises to make sure that they realize the opportunity that they will have once they make sure that they have their people, processes, and systems in line or synchronized at 33.3% in order for them to achieve their ultimate return on investment. From your we help businesses from your small business to your foundation to your chamber of business as well. So we help your NPOs, your PTYs, your close corporation, your sole proprietorship as well. We help those businesses to realize that they will have the ultimate potential if they use their people, their processes, and systems together. But we want to deviate from that today because if you can see, our topic there is George Floyd, Black Lives Matters. Not to say we are indulging in issues of politics or issues of racism, but we just want to categorically state that what is happening in the US. I've just watched the eulogy read by the Pastor Al Shepparton as well in that case. And I've seen that a lot of things are happening as well in the US. There are protests everywhere in the US. There are other places where there's a curfew, and then there's other places where a curfew is not exercised. As protesters are doing that free, they are protesting to show their concern. And it's not only from the Black communities. That is what I like. It's about all the nation, all races. It's black and white people that are protesting to say the rights of the Black people must be protected from the brutality that the police are doing on them as well. So we like to categorically state that we are against the abuse of power, abuse by the executive, abuse by the people that are in power. And then as we also in South Africa on alert lockdown level 3, we want to say we are very appreciative of what is happening in terms of the support to George Floyd's family as well. From the South African perspective, we've realized that yesterday the Nelson Mandela Foundation as well as released a statement to say they are against what is happening in the US, especially on the Black Lives. As the way they have handled it, especially from the presidential side, the way they've handled the issues of George Floyd case, it's not professionalism. It leaves a sour taste in our taste buds. It doesn't represent the great US, a great country that we know. But we know as well, we come from that pandemic as well, or we come from that region, or that category as well of apartheid in South Africa. And then as Blacks, we tend to suffer a lot from what is expected of us. Because once you start showing off who you are, what you are made of, people will either label you as corrupt, or you'll be labeled as a thief, and all of that, which in this case, I think with George Floyd, the police labeled him as someone because he was in a different neighborhood. So they categorize people based on their color to be at a certain neighborhood. They categorize people based on their color to be only inclined to be living in these high class areas. They don't know that behind a Black person there comes a hard work. Behind the Black person, Black people will want to also have nice things nowadays. We want to be seen as prosperous because we are a prosperous nation. We are a nation that can persevere. We are a nation that is determined to get what we want. determination is what will result. So I just want to hit straight, because today is not going to be like the normal days where I go into deeper. Today my focus is on justice for George. We need to have justice for George Floyd. We know that the police that were part of the crew that was that assaulted him or that wanted to incarcerate him, there were 4 of them. So others were denied bail, or they were given a bail of 750,000 US dollars. 3 culprits or 3 policemen that were there in that scene as well. So the state of readiness for COVID-19. Remember, the US is still struggling with the state of readiness for COVID-19, and now they had to deal with issues of riots, because all the major cities in the US, they are behind the Black Lives Matter campaign, where protesting is happening on the streets of every town to make sure that they wait. Because if you look at it, in the US, it seems like they shifted. The George Floyd case has shifted the interest in terms of COVID-19 into the Black Lives Matters, which I think it was a sensitive, or it's been a sensitive issue in the US, where it needed to be addressed. There were issues with the gun laws. There were issues with a lot of things around that was happening in the US, school shootings and all of those. We've been watching it in the media. But let me quote what Reverend Al Sharpton has said in his theology. So I will just start by quoting when he started his theology. I will quote him. I open quote: I want us to not sit here and act like we had a funeral on the schedule. George Floyd should not be among the deceased. He did not die of common health condition. He died of a common American criminal justice malfunction. He died because there has not been the corrective behavior that has taught this country that if you commit a crime, it does not matter whether you wear blue jeans or blue uniform, you must pay for the crime you commit. And he continues to say, so it is not a normal funeral, it is not a normal circumstance, but it's too common and we need to deal with it. Let me ask those of you that in the traditions of eulogies need a scriptural reference to go to Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1. And that says, to everything there's a time and a purpose and a season under the heavens. I'll repeat that: to everything there's a time and a purpose and season under the heavens. I'm going to leave it there. I saw somebody standing in front of a church the other day. I think in this case is referring to the President of the United States of America, the Honorable President Donald Trump. I'm going to leave it there. I saw somebody standing in front of a church the other day that has been bought it up as a result of violence. He held the Bible in his hand. I've been preaching since I was a little boy. I'd never seen anyone hold a Bible like that, but I'll leave that alone. But since he held the Bible, if he's watching us today, I would like him to open that Bible, and I'd like him to read Ecclesiastes 3. To every season there is a time and a purpose. I think that it is our job to let the world know, when we see what is going on in the streets of this country and in Europe, around the world, that you need to know what time it is. And then he continues to say, first of all, we cannot use Bibles as a prop. And for those that have agendas that are not about justice, the family of George Floyd will not let you use George Floyd as a prop. If you want to get your stuff off, don't use him. Let us stand for what is right, because when I got the call from Attorney Crump, and usually when he calls me, it's not to find out how I'm doing. It's usually because something happened that he wants National Action Network and I to get involved. He explained to me what was happening with this case, and I had already heard about it in the media. And immediately I said, well, let me know what you want me to do. He said, whatever you need to do. So I will close quote. So that is the eulogy that was delivered by Reverend Al Sharpton in the George Floyd Memorial Service. So there's a lot of things that we need to learn from this case. One of the respectable Vice Chancellor, Mr. Chiliz Maraola from the University of Johannesburg, he also elaborated his story that he and his Nigerian friend went to a restaurant, and then the police came in there, and then they were only saved by their documentation because they were foreigners. But if they were blacks from the US, they will have been culprits as well of the same system injustice, the same injustice that happened to George Floyd and many more. This is not the only case for George Floyd. There are other cases where people were they were throttled by the knee, and then some revelations are coming out that this has been happening, and it's been happening for a long time. So let us reverse it and bring it to our situation. How does this case help us in our situation? Like I've said, you get labeled when you're driving a fancy car, you get labeled as being corrupt in South Africa, you get labeled as being lazy, you get labeled as being a thug, you are hijacking cars. This is what you are doing. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of labelings that we get. And when we get this, apparently we still get it from white people, we still get it from blacks on blacks as well. There's this issue of blacks and blacks on South Africa as well. So we want to say Black Lives Matters, and then with Black Lives, there's a lot of potential with Black people. There's a lot of resources with Black people. There's a lot of places where Black people come from, and then they are an identity of success. You must never see them as an identity of failure. They are always an identity of success. When you see a Black person liberating, a lot of people, history has been written by the Honorable Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King. He was Black. History has been written by the right Dr. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. He was Black. So we've got excellence in us. If you can hear the story of how one of my friends shared a story to say, you know what, the first owner of Orlando Pirates was a Black person. So, and then how he managed to win the land in Orlando. That was a very narrative story to say, okay, Orlando Pirates has got a history behind it. Even with Kaizer Chiefs as well, Kaizer Chiefs has got a history behind it, because we know it was a disgruntled player that was coming from Orlando Pirates that went overseas, and then after that he said, no, I can do this better than this. So you hear that is Black excellence. So we want to hear that. And all over the world, we've seen how this case has brought a lot of celebrities like Kanye West contributing towards the George Floyd daughters, so that they can further their studies further after they've lost their breadwinner or the provider in their family. Their brothers as well, they have lost a hero in George Floyd as well. So we've heard from your Floyd Mayweather as well, making sure that he's catering for everything that has to do with the funeral of George Floyd. So it is very imperative. We've had an incident as well it was in 2002 when we were walking through the street of a town next to us, Kronstadt, where we were shot by pellets from a handgun from the white people, and they were running. After they have done that, they ran away. So there are a lot of incidents that we need to say, what is it that is happening? What society are we building? Are we building a society where racism and then dislike of based on color is going to be left behind? Because you must leave it behind. We are now living in a different world. But what is concerning me is when they combine it now with COVID-19, but they had to, because now they have had enough. So the US citizens have had enough of Black lives, of Black people being killed because people are suspecting them to be criminals. In this case, the CIDC as well has released a statement to say people that are attending the that are attending the memorial service, people that are attending the protest, they must make sure that they are tested on site as well. So we think that that will be a precautionary measure that CIDC or NCID is taking in line with controlling the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic as well going forward. So when you see me as Black, when you see me as any nation, we must work together because we are all, I always say this, we are all contributing to each other's success. So your success, how we join forces, that is what will make us, that will form a link. I want to do business as well in the US. I want to do business in Europe. I want to do business in Asia. I want to do business all over, but I'll only do business where I'm not going to be judged because of my color. I'm going to be judged because of my credentials. That is what is important. You must be judged based on your credentials, how good you are. If you are good in your country, can another nation embrace you and say you are good in us, like people are doing in Singapore? Singapore is a first-class country. When you say the top 5 countries that people will live in, they will mention Singapore is number 1 country where a person will live in. I've been embraced in Singapore because of my skill. I've been embraced in Malaysia because of my skill, not because of my color. So that is what we want. Excellence. Let us celebrate excellence. With justice, we need justice for George. Justice for George Floyd. We need justice. Black lives matters. Black lives are the ones that are going to drive the economy. So you need to know that Black lives matters. So with that being said, our episode is not going to be that long today. We are very concerned about what is happening in the US. People must take a lesson. They must learn from that. Especially the president must learn from that. What is happening in the country. The Honorable President Donald Trump must respect the will of the people. And then they must make sure. If you look at the Democrats are understanding what is happening. But if you look at the Republicans, they are mum on issues that are happening on the ground. Because remember, there's only one spokesperson, and a spokesperson in Twitter who is the President of the United States of America. So let us bear in mind that we need to always respect the rules and regulation of our government. Although we know that there was a court decision that was upheld, which the government will be appealing, that says alert lockdown level 4 and now level 3 are illegal. So they've given the minister from the NCCC, or National Coronavirus Command Council, led by the Honorable Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, 14 days to make sure that they rectify what the court has decided is irregular in terms of alert lockdown level 3 and 4, consecutively level 4 and 3. But I think when they are appealing it, that will still stand, because we'll hear when their appeal is upheld what will happen, what will be the decision from there as well. So, but we must always respect the rule of law. Let us make sure that the regulations are followed. The regulations, how they are followed, is we need to make sure that we wash our hands with water and soap for at least 20 seconds, or we use an alcohol-based sanitizer. And then from that, what we need to do is we always need to make sure that we avoid crowded areas. When we cough, we must cough into our shoulder or a tissue. And then when we have a cough or a sore throat, we must seek medical profession. And then we call them before we do that as well. So we still follow the same step. And when we are stressed at home, let us do something that we wanted to do for a long time. If you have to clean your garage, clean your garage. If you want to do your wall cabinets, do your wall cabinets. If you have proper tools, and please practice your safety, where you must have a mask, you must have gloves as well, and make sure that after you touch any surfaces, you wash your hands for the 20 seconds that we've described. Connect with other people, connect with other networks, so that you can share information with the people in your industry as well. So those are the things that we need to do. And then you can communicate using the Jiu-Jitsu, you can communicate using Zoom, you can also communicate using your StreamYard, your OBS stream live as well. So those are the resources that you can use in getting the spread of the COVID-19. Do not visit Your neighbors do not visit your mother or your grandparents. Protect them, because staying at home is what will save us, and we must be alone together during this pandemic as well. So the lessons that we need to learn from the George Floyd is the coming together of the whole U.S. nation, the United States of America, people, and not only them, all around the world. We are coming together because we are saying we've heard it. We've had this. Yes, we come from apartheid. We are 26 years now into freedom, but we still have that disassociation where other people are thinking are better than us as well. So we still have that. That is still a factor in a work environment where people are paid based on their skin. People are not paid based on their skill, but they are paid based on their skin color. So that needs to come to an end. When you go to Malaysia, there's a system that they use there. There are three nations that live in Malaysia. You've got the Malay, you've got the Chinese, and then you've got the Indian nation. So there's three nations that live in Malaysia. But the first preference there goes to the Malay. And then the second will go, the Chinese and the Indian, they share the same percentage. But the Malay are the one that are prioritized a lot. From your buying of your home or your condo to your buying of your first vehicle as a Malay, you've got a subsidized criteria that comes from government. But in South Africa, we said we've got equal opportunities. Everyone is treated fairly. We've got 12 languages now where everyone is treated fairly. We are not disassociated because of the color, or we are not disassociated because of we were previously disadvantaged. We are better than the whites. We are all treated on the same level. So let it happen. Yes, people will complain about your BEE, but I think BEE is better placed to cover for the people that were historically disadvantaged individuals before, where they didn't get a lot of opportunities. So there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from other nations and adopt them. If you look at the economy that is growing and is still being growing, the Singapore economy, if you can read the history behind it, you can understand what is really happening in Singapore. Why are they skyrocketing in terms of their economic growth as well in this regard? So there's a lot of things that we can learn. There's a lot of lessons we can learn from the George Floyd case. The standing up of communities coming together and then fighting for the common threat, which is the injustice by the men in blue, by the policemen, the people that are supposed to uphold the constitution, that are supposed to control their citizens, are the ones that are impacting or putting pressure on the innocent life, on the people that are there to make sure that they hustle for their kids. So we really, from us at Tiwi Flizo, we really want to say we hate racism, we hate apartheid, we hate discrimination. We are against racism. We are against discrimination based on the skill of your color. So we are very against that. So let us make sure that when we see someone doing that, we must call them to order. When we see someone oppressing or discriminating because of the language that you do not want to speak, if I don't know Africans, someone must not discriminate against me. They must know that we must have a common ground. Our common ground must be English. We must speak English, which is a common language. Because they will not like when they speak Afrikaans, then I speak vernacular. So that is what they will not like. So let us make sure that this is understood, that we've got preferences in terms of language, but we choose to use a common language, which is English, whereby we can understand each other. We know about 10 vernacular languages. So if you can go there and then go deeper in terms of those languages, then they will be surprised or amazed in that case. So there's a lot of things. I've traveled Africa, I've traveled the Asia. People there are treated because of their skill, their knowledge, their credentials. That is what you want. You are not judged because of your color of your skin. So if that being said, I hope you have a fantastic Friday, and then we meet again next week on Monday when we still do again Tiwi Flizwe. We go forward with this program, and then we really appreciate your support. And every issue, like we said, if you want us to discuss any issue, let us make sure that we write it here on the comment section. We tag a friend, we tag everyone that we want to have these issues with, and let us remember that we still need justice for George, justice for everyone that has suffered uh, during the police incarceration or the police custody as well, like George did. So George was put under duress by the police, the person that was supposed to protect him. So let us remember that we need to be protected at all times. From us at TB Flize, until we see you again next week, Monday, thank you very much and God bless you.